Hello, everyone. Welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am so pleased to be here with you today. We seem to be having trouble with Facebook. Let's see if we can get this worked out here real quick. I do apologize for that. It seems like we may not be live on Facebook, so I do apologize. But if we're not live on Facebook, just come on over to YouTube. That's where we're at, and we'll repost it. So not a problem. But you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am Cece Shatz. I am the Doyenne of relationship building. I am a divorce, dating, and a life coach. You're listening to the Going Solo with Cece show. And, we broadcast right here on the WGSN network, so that we want to bring you some really awesome guests, some awesome content, so that you can, that you really can move forward in your life, and it's really relatable. And that's what we have here today. We have a wonderful guest here with us. I'm excited about having her with us, mainly because she's outstanding in her field. Let's bring her forward here. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Cece. I'm great. Thank you for
Well, it's great
inviting me
having you. We
today.
have Kelly Nilsson with us. She's a CFP, and she's got all these letters behind her, CDFA, and she's a JD, Fiduciary, a financial planner, and her company is called Brava Financial LLC. So write that down right now. It's Brava Financial LLC. And thank you so much for being on the show here with us.
My pleasure.
It is great having you. We're going to talk about one of the most difficult subjects, I think, and that's finances, right? We're going to talk about keys and steps to financial empowerment. But Kelly, you've been in the industry for like 30 years, right? Or over 30
I
years.
have.
So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about yourself and why, helping others with their financial, you know, I don't know which plan, I guess you would call it, their
Yeah.
financial plan, their kind of financial life. It's very, very important for us. But why did you get into this type of field?
Well, I got into this field in a little bit of serendipity. I started because I really needed a job, and it was 1992. We were in the middle of a recession, and I answered an ad in from the New York Times, believe it or not, back in the Stone Age when we actually used to go to a newspaper to find jobs. And I found this company that did financial product marketing and sales to advisors and brokers. And I started off at the ground level. My clients were advisors and brokers, and I discovered this fascinating world of both finance and psychology. So, for the first 17 years of my career, I worked with those financial advisors who were helping clients make their way in terms of building financial security. And in mid career for me, because I started a family with my husband, I decided to pivot and start working directly with clients. And that's really where everything came together for me in terms of moving from a job to something that really has become a passion for me. I've always been someone who loves to work on puzzles and any kind of crosswords and jigsaws and things like that. And so putting financial pieces together and solving problems and bringing creativity has really been more than just a career. It's a way that I find inspiration and engagement on a daily basis. So my career is a little bit unusual in that I have both the backstage experience and then also the front stage experience of working with clients directly.
Yeah, that is super. It really made me smile when you said that because, our finances are really up and down, right? Sometimes it's like a roller coaster ride. And as much as we try to plan for our futures, and having someone like you to help guide us is so vital, to be able to do that. But we try to plan, and sometimes there's shifts happen, life experiences, situations come up. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because as we're moving forward in empowerment, we have to really understand that we have to allow ourselves a movement, right? A movement of our lives to be able to progress into what it is that we want in our future. And so let's talk a little bit about that, as we move forward.
Sure, and I'll share with you two words and phrases that I think about a lot when I am helping people plan. The first one is optionality. And Cece, I think that that is exactly what you were referring to, which is we really can't control our lives, in an external way. We sort of move down a path, and life throws a lot of curveballs. But as long as you have some optionality, I think that puts you in a great place. And the other term that I like is directionally correct. And what that means is that, again, as you chart your course through life, we can't necessarily plan to hit a specific account number in 10 years, but we can be directionally correct toward what that value might be. And we have to adjust along the way. And so to me, those two concepts really underpin a feeling of financial empowerment, or just empowerment in general, is having options and feeling like you're moving in the direction that you want to be moving. So I share those with you to kind of frame how I think and how I plan, and just what I think really helps people feel more um, kind of in control, and like they have agency over the decisions that they're making.
Right. That's so good. So often we become so overwhelmed with finances, right? We become overwhelmed with what our future holds, and are we going to be able to recover? And like as you know, our station, a lot of those that are struggling through divorce are wondering now, how's it gonna play out in my future with regards to finances? And so often, a lot of those individuals, I have been in long-term marriages, are looking now towards retirement, and they're thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, I'm going to have half the amount now that I was planning to have for retirement. And so that creates a lot of insecurities, a lot of overwhelm for individual. And so when I think about that, I think about what financial empowerment does feel like. And I know that you had given me some information about, being clear, confident, and in control. And, when I was reading some of this information, I thought, Kelly, you are so right, because when you do feel like you've taken the reins of your financial path, and with the help of the guidance of someone like yourself, it does give you that. You do feel like you're a little bit clearer, you're confident, more confident in your plan, and as you move forward, even though you may have to take shifts, as you're progressing, but you do feel that, okay, I'm in control now. I've got, I could, even though you've been going through something that's been hectic in your life and very uncertain, you now start to feel like you've got something to work towards. You've got that little bit of that control back. So tell us a little bit about what you do with someone when they're kind of in a little bit of a turmoil and they need to start preparing for their financial future. How do they start feeling that empowerment, that self-confidence, that clarity and control?
Yeah. Well, the first step for me and for the clients that I work with is to get that clarity. And so that comes to the fore in a couple of ways. First of all, we can get really clear on numbers. And so I do a lot of digging and analysis on the financial numbers that underpin my client's life. So what are we looking at in terms of income? What are we looking at in terms of expenses? There's a lot of analysis. And that's, again, something that I don't think many people spend a lot of time on. And that's fair enough. I mean, I don't think anybody really wants to be an accountant with their own finances. And that's, again, why I have a business, because I can help with that. But it's also clarity in terms of a vision for that person's life. And so we bring those two pieces together. What do the numbers look like? And where are you and where do you want to go as a human being? And so there's both financial numbers goal setting and personal goal setting, and we bring that together so we can get very clear as far as almost being in the mall, right, and going up to that map, and it has that little dot and it says you are here. I think most people under the age of 40 probably do it on their phones. Nevertheless, there's always that little dot, you are here. And then we figure out where do you want to go, and we can map a path forward. So that's my perspective in terms of clarity. And to be candid, Cece, a lot of people can't get to that level of clarity, not because they can't do it, but because it's emotionally terrifying. And so really what I try to do is help people understand that the numbers are what they are. There's no judgment. There's no shame in terms of whatever the information is. We can deal with it. We can confront it. We can look at it with objectivity, and then we work with what we have to move forward.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it is true that sometimes we fear because which is just unknown, right? We just don't know what's going to happen to us, and so we start becoming fearing that, and so we kind of put our head in the sand sometimes, So, and I'm the worst on that one, but try to do that. I did that through my entire divorce, and then realized what a mistake that was for me to just try to get through it and just pretend that it wasn't going to be as bad as it was. But so what do we do? Like, what steps do we take if we realize that we need to start analyzing our finances? We need to start figuring out not only where we're going to go, right, but we got to figure out where we're at. Any suggestions one can take if they're starting to kind of put that together for themselves? Any suggestions that you might have?
Yeah, so I really encourage people to do a self inventory around their finances. And what I mean by that is try to get a gauge of where you are in terms of your understanding of your finances and where there might be some gaps in terms of knowledge. So, for instance, I met someone at a networking event recently who is a mortgage broker, and we got to talking and very knowledgeable about real estate and financing. But then he started to ask me some questions about his retirement account. And it was obvious to me that this is definitely not an area that he has much knowledge about. And that's okay. Again, there's no rule that everybody has to be a financial expert in their own lives. And so taking that personal inventory and saying, hey, I'm really good at managing my monthly inflow and outflow. I know what's coming in, I know what's going out. I've got a good system there. But when it comes to my, investment portfolio, or when it comes to some other aspect of my financial life, when it comes to things like insurance, that might be an area where somebody goes, I have no idea. I don't know the difference between a premium and a deductible or whatever. But really, if you go through that process of saying, okay, this is what I know, this is what I'm unclear about, that helps guide whether you need to hire someone or what kind of professional you need. For instance, if it's an issue of accountability, so if it's an issue where I have ample income, but I do a terrible job at managing my expenses and budgeting, and I don't save enough, that's really an accountability question, right? That's where you want to partner with somebody who maybe is a little bit more of a coach and can check in and keep you accountable. If it's something like, I want to retire next year and I have no idea how I'm going to do that, that's more of a planner question, right? Where someone can go and, as I said, pour all of the pieces out onto the table and start to put the puzzle together. So that's gives you a flavor of how I would recommend that people kind of begin that process, it's really a question of, what do I need? What do I know? What do I not know? And what do I need in terms of filling that knowledge gap?
Right. That's a good advice, because so often we think as as we're living our everyday life, right? Our everyday expenses. Sometimes we lose sight of those too in our busy world, right? And I know just Martha Alexander, she had a show, and one thing she had suggested was to go in your junk drawer, or your where you throw all your stuff that you don't really pay attention to. Go in there and see if there's any gift cards that you have. Anything like that you've been just kind of throwing in the drawer and not paying attention to, or in your wallet or whatever. And she said, that's money. That's found money. And so I did that. I actually did that. And I was surprised that I had like $100 card where I had taken some stuff back that I had built up on this card. I had like $100 at Lowe's, and then
Yeah,
I had like a Bed Bath and Beyond, $50 there, and so I'm thinking to myself, you're right. I'm not watching my finances. I'm not paying attention, even though a small, minute thing like that. We need to start watching things, and another thing, Kelly, is like I'm surprised on the apps and things that we have. We don't realize where we're getting charged for things. And now companies are coming out trying to help you monitor that, trying to help you control that, because everybody's doing a membership now for everything under the sun, right? So
exactly.
yeah, and you think it's small, right? You think these are small little bits of money. But if you took those small little bits of money and you put that money into your planning, right, into
Right.
it going into your planning fund, yeah, would make a big difference in your life, wouldn't it?
It does. And the other thing too is that you raise a really interesting and important point of um, the difference between really spending with intention and just sort of spending because it's automated or it's set up that way, right? Because you do, if you're signing up for a streaming service, or you're signing up for a monthly subscription of some description of some, offering, um, those add up. They really do. You could be spending a couple of $100 a month on these ongoing subscriptions where, again, unless you're paying attention to it, it's very easy to see that build up. And so I certainly would never say to anyone, hey, you got to cut that subscription because it's whatever, $20 a month, if they really use it and they enjoy it, right? I mean, we're free to spend our money however we want to spend it. But if it's a lack of awareness and not knowing that that $20 a month is going out consistently, that's where we have to kind of bring some intention and some awareness so that we can make those smart decisions.
Yeah, you're so right. Just as an example, I have Amazon Prime, right? And I have my son on the Amazon Prime too. And he contacted me a while back, and he said, "Mom, I think I'm going to stop paying the Amazon Prime because I'm not really using it. Are you using it?" And I said, "Well, I'm paying it." And he goes, "No, I'm paying it." We'll come find out we're both paying it. So they
Oh,
have the same account, but we're getting billed twice for it. And so he went, I said, you go back. I was planning on playing, you go back and get your money back. And so he did that. But yeah, it's very, very easy to not notice things, not realize things. And if we're talking empowerment on our financial, being or a financial way, it's very, very important that we do take those steps to really review, isn't it? We must review our finances. So, how often would you say, Kelly, that we should probably review our finances?
so I think, generally speaking, once a deep dive is done and everything is looked at, I generally recommend once a quarter. It really doesn't have to be any more frequent than that because statements usually come in on a quarterly basis. It's hard to see trends in under 4 to 6 months. And so again, there's some things that you're not necessarily going to catch until you start to see how your cash flow kind of moves through the course of about half a year, so to speak. And so again, I think that again, once everything has been looked at pretty substantially, you can put it onto a maintenance plan where you're looking at things on a quarterly basis.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense because you really want to be able to, look at your everyday finances and then be able to take whatever you have left and also what you've decided to put towards, your retirement plan or things like that. You want to be able to keep that up. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk a little bit more about, our reframing our money. Trying to reframe that and what does that look like for us here in the future? Being able to move forward in a more self-confident way while we're talking about our financial empowerment. So I think that's important. What do you think?
I think it sounds great.
I think it's wonderful. Well, let's make sure that everyone contacts you because we want to make sure that if they are in need of looking at their finances, not only today, but really preparing for the future, it is really a good idea to give Kelly a call. So call her at 619-929-0056. Her business is Brava Financial Plan.com. So just give her a call there, or you can email her there. Our website is there. You can go Kelly, Kelly, at bravafinancialplans.com, or her website is bravafinancialplans.com. So her phone number again is 619-929-0056. I'm a talker, so picking up the phone is easy for me. So that's the best way for me to do it. But I want to make sure that everyone knows that Kelly is a professional out there. She handles this day in, day out, helping and really empowering people. So if you are now looking at a shift that's happening in your life, you're thinking about your finances, if you feel a little overwhelmed about it, Kelly is really the person to be able to talk to and really down to earth. So we want to thank you, Kelly, for being on the show here.
My pleasure.
That's great. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a lot more stuff that's going to help you. So you want to definitely stay with us. So we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business show showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact goingsolodirectory.com.
Hello, welcome back. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Going Solo with Cece show. I've got it on the wrong one, Going Solo with Cece, but we're also on the Business Showcase. So those of you, this is an important subject. We want to make sure that we cover it here on our Business Showcase. So we want to also have you see that we are very conscious about moving forward in our lives in a very positive way. And so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the keys to financial empowerment, something that is so vital to each and every one of us, no matter how old we are. And we all feel it, right? When we're going through a shift in our lives, a change in our lives, we all think about what is it going to be like when we retire? What's our future going to be like? And so for us to be able to really have that self-confidence, that clarity, and really have that control in our lives, we must understand our finances. And sometimes we just can't do that by ourselves, can we, Kelly?
No, it's hard. It really
Yeah.
is hard.
It is very hard. So we have with us here today Kelly Nilsson, and she's a CFP, a CDFA, and a JD Fiduciary Financial Planner. She works with Brava Financial LLC. So we are so proud and so happy to have you here with us today, and we want to thank you for taking the time out.
My pleasure.
As we said, the first part of the show, you've got like 30 years experience. So you know the ins and outs, you know the trends, what has happened in the past, what's going to kind of be happening in the future to try to start planning for things. And so that's what's very important to us. We want to talk a little bit about, and I know that we've already covered, about the fear of finances, the fear that we feel sometimes of being a little bit out of control about that, really taking that self inventory. And we talked about like this time frame, what you said, quarterly, looking at that, moving forward in our lives. We want to really take stock each quarter to try to see where we're at, what we spent, right? What can we do a little bit better? Not to beat ourselves up, but to plan for the future, taking those finances that we have maybe left over or planning, pay ourselves first, being able to move forward into our retirement. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the planning that a lot of people think about, because we question now, is Social Security going to be there? Are we going to have some of those things? So is there anything we can do today to start preparing ourselves for that, for our future, so we don't feel like we're out of control?
Absolutely. I'll start by, again, a little bit of reframing. People talk a lot about retirement, and I tend not to talk about that other than really talking about specific account types. And the reason is because retirement is kind of an amorphous word. It means something different to every person that you talk to. And so you can talk to somebody who has a vision of retirement where they're playing golf every single day and doesn't involve any work. And then you talk to somebody else who says, well, my retirement is I'm going to pivot careers. I'm going to retire from my current job and I'll be doing something else, but there's still kind of work involved. And so it gets very hard to define at a general level. What I like to talk about is financial independence. And financial independence is essentially all that means is if you have income that is exceeding your expenses, you're financially independent. That's just the truth. And so, for instance, someone who is no longer in the workforce, but let's say they have Social Security, they have some investment money that's coming in, it's $50,000. If they only spend $30,000, they're financially independent. So I think, again, untangling these terms from what they actually mean is super important, because I think most people, when you say, okay, tell me what someone who's financially independent looks like, it's probably someone who lives in a big house and has a number of cars and, has a big pile of money. And that could be one way of looking at it, but it doesn't have to be the only way. And so again, sort of reframing this concept to moving toward a definition of financial independence that is sustainable, to me, is really what I try to do with my clients.
Yeah, that's excellent information. We talked prior to the show a little bit about how when we move forward in these shifts that happen in our lives, right, we need to try to, like you said, reframe, rethink about what it is that we want and what's important to us. And I don't know if you know this, but I run a travel group, and we call it Going Solo Travelers. If anybody wants to join us, it's goingsolonetwork.com. You can find the website. But we get together, right, and we do traveling, and everyone there has a different budget, right? A different amounts of money that they want to spend. They have different bucket lists too of different things they want to do. And so when I look at that, I look at, they're looking at their finances, right? They're looking at what they can spend now that most of them are in retirement, and they're evaluating their lives based on the quality of their life. And so when we think about our finances as we move forward, as we get older, we want to think about our quality of life. What is it that we really want to spend our money on? What do we really want to do? What comforts do we really need? And as people are making that shift going through divorce, and if you're in the latter part of your life, Kelly, isn't it wise to really start thinking about those things? Do we need the big house anymore? Do we want to, is that going to end up costing us more money, and where we could put it in a different, and I say buckets, right? In different buckets in our life, So what do you think about that?
I think that's crucial. I think that is the most fundamental process that someone can go through is to really, in those times of transition, take time out to really reflect and think about what they want and what they need as they open up a new chapter. Because often our decision making is clouded by emotion, right? That's the hard part of a transition, is that we're not ever moving through different parts of our life emotion free. It just doesn't happen. And so being aware of that and being able to just take a breath and acknowledge the emotions, and then try to make decisions within that framework is really, really crucial. I learned very early in this business, because I saw people, get attached to certain investments or certain strategies or what have you. Never fall in love with something that can't love you back. That's just a mantra of mine. And that can take a lot of different forms. It can be a stock that someone says, I just love whatever it is. We were talking about Amazon earlier, Amazon Prime. A number of my clients own Amazon stock. And again, that stock doesn't love you. You may love it, but it's a one-way street. And so trying to really acknowledge those attachments for what they are, which is kind of just an emotional way of being, and saying, well, maybe we don't want to be overly emotional here. Maybe we don't want to be, in the case of divorce, it's often around the family home, right? There's an emotional attachment to that home. And that's an important thing to acknowledge. But a family home can also be really expensive to maintain and keep. And so, again, it's very hard to do this type of work on your own. It can be very isolating and feel very just really hard. And that's, again, why finding a coach or a planner or someone who can lock arms with you and say, I can help, and we'll go through this, and I'll build the spreadsheets, and you tell me your story, and we'll work together to move forward in whatever direction the client wants to move.
Yeah, you're so right with that, because sometimes when you get a fresh pair of eyes, right, looking at your finances, putting it down on paper and seeing it for what it really is, it really makes you understand, what you need to do. Do you need to spend less money? Do you need to put more money aside? Do you need to reevaluate your investments? Are they really working for you, or is there a shift that you need to make, a change you need to make in those? And you can't do that by yourself. I really don't think this type of something so serious like this, I think you do need someone. You do need a coach, or someone like yourself, that helps you to be able to move forward in doing something like that. And I think you are like a coach. You're like a financial coach. And so I think it's you not only are a professional in your field, but you also know what it's like to be human and go through the experience of life, to be able to understand, yeah, I might have an emotional thing about this, but let's look at it on paper. Let's say, okay, I know you love your house, but let's look at it. What's it costing you each year? If you moved, what would that expense be? If you sold it, can you get the money back and put it away into something else that would make more money for you? So, I think that's so vital, so very important. And we don't always look at that, and we don't look at it. We just think we're going to do it later, and doing it later costs us money. So we can't do that. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, it looks like we're going to have to start closing down the show, and it goes by so quickly. So are there any last words that you want to share with our audience?
Well, the last thing that I'll share is this idea of reframing. Money is a very personal topic, but money is a resource, right? It's just like oil, heating oil, gas that you put in your car, water, oxygen. And again, it's a one-way street. We need money, but money doesn't need us. And so, again, having that concept that it's important to acknowledge emotions, but not necessarily connect them to money. Part of planning is making space for that work, as well as just the financial analysis and decision making. So that's my final thought.
Very wisely said. Very wisely said indeed. And I want to thank you so much for being with us here today. This is a hard subject. It's not one that's easy to talk about, and it's fearful for many people out there. And so I want to thank you for, making it warm and welcoming, making it, so that it's a place that we want to actually start understanding. And because that's a thing, that's a key with fear. When we become more in tune with it, we become more comfortable with it, we start understanding it, the fear goes away, right? And we can start making those decisions. And so I want to thank you for taking the time that you spend with individuals that really map it out, plan it out for them so that they can move forward in their lives. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you're welcome. Everyone, again, we want you to give Kelly a call at 619-929-0056. Again, the number is 619-929-0056. You can send her an email at Kelly, Kelly, at Brava, Brava, financial plans with an S, plans.com. And that, of course, that's her website, Brava Financial Plans, plural.com. So just check her out. Check out her website. She's got a lot of information there. She's got 30 years in the financial industry, and she's just a sweetheart. So you definitely want to give her a call and just let her know, where your finances are, that you need a little bit of time, you need an extra set of eyes. And I'm sure Kelly will, be more than happy to give you some assistance on that. Well, thank you again, Kelly. We appreciate it. We've been talking about the key steps to financial empowerment, and you guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We've covered a lot here on our show. I hope that you guys, if you want to go back and listen to it again, we'd be happy to share that with you. We are on the Business Showcase and also on Going Solo with Cece. I am Cece Shatz, a Doyenne of relationship building. I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. You can reach me at Going Solo Network at gmail.com. And then, of course, all of our information is right here on the goingSoloMedia.com. So I hope you enjoyed the show. I did. Kelly, thank you again. We just appreciate you.
My pleasure.
I hope you'll come back on again, because we can never talk enough about our financial situation. I tell you, it is so vital, and there's so many different elements with regards to finances, planning for the future, living today. So thank you again. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care.